Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. When Nick Newman's world was torn apart, the early morning light hardly reached Genoa City. His phone's buzzing sound sliced through the silence like a knife. But what came next was much worse. Something that would rob his lungs of air and freeze his blood. He had paced his living room all night long waiting for Noah to come home. After yet another heated disagreement with him over Sienna Bacall, his son had left to get some fresh air. Hours went by. Morning seeped into midnight. 3 times, Sharon had called to inquire about Noah's return. He wasn't. Nick's instincts told him something was seriously wrong by dawn. That call then arrived. That voice. The one man he prayed for was no more. Clark Matt. The familiar snarl of Matt's voice slithered through the line like venom, making Nick's fingers shake as he raised the phone to his ear. Matt growled, "You'll never see him again," in a somber and calculated tone. "Check your phone, Nick." Nick was immobile for a little moment. As though attempting to escape, his heart pounded in his chest. He heard faint background sounds like muffled cries or the rattling of chains. The call then ended. Quiet. Silence, cold and ruthless. His phone buzzed once more a few seconds later, this time with a text message. When Nick opened it, his stomach fell. It was a picture. Noah was scared, gagged, and restrained. It was taken minutes earlier, according to the timestamp. "You take one step towards me and you'll never find the body," Matt had scrawled beneath it. And oh, with a rage, Nick hurled the phone across the room. The picture that was ingrained in his mind would not go away even after it broke against the wall. When he realized that Noah wasn't missing by accident, his knees gave way and he fell to the ground, clutching his chest. They had abducted him. Abducted. And Matt was responsible for it. More vicious than before, the same man who had tormented his family for decades had returned. Nick's breathing accelerated as he struggled with dread and anger. In order to locate his son, he desired to destroy the entire globe. But he had to ponder first. Matt never played games at random. Every action has a purpose. Each threat served a purpose. Additionally, Matt must have wanted something if he had Noah. Sharon's phone rang across town. Her world halted when she heard Nick's anguished voice murmur, "He's gone." Tears were running down her face as she hurried to the Newman property, every terrible scenario racing through her head. When she got there, Nick was already lying on the ground with his eyes sunken with fear, surrounded by pieces of his broken phone. Nick stated in a raspy voice, "He called me." It was Matt. Sharon covered her mouth and shook her head in shock as she whispered, "He has Noah." "Matt is dead, so that's not conceivable," she sobbed. Nick's face, however, sent a different message. "Sharon, I heard him. That voice is familiar to me." After Sharon called, Victoria quickly showed up, her worry turning to dread as she tried to make sense of the tragedy she was witnessing. "Are you saying that Matt Clark abducted Noah? After all these years?" Though a part of her already believed it, she insisted. The unexplained hospital break-in, Sienna's tense demeanor, and rumors that Mitch Bacall wasn't who he claimed to be were just a few of the bizarre things that had been happening lately. Everything made obvious now. Matt did not pass away, wearing the face of another guy. He had been hidden in plain sight. Nick, in the meantime, called Chance Chancellor for assistance in an attempt to regain control. The GCPD arrived at his door in a matter of minutes, taking statements, tracking down calls, and attempting to find Noah's phone signal. However, Matt was constantly ahead of the game. He had completely cleaned the trail. Before arriving at Nick's phone, the text was transmitted via a masked number and bounced through several networks. Nick paced like an animal in a cage and whispered angrily, "He planned this." Chance put a hand on his shoulder and said, "He wanted to hurt me, to destroy me the way he couldn't before. Nick will locate him. I swear." But a father who had just seen his son's scared expression in a picture didn't care about promises. Hours became a painful fog. Sitting on the couch, Sharon sobbed softly as she went over all of her recent conversations with Noah, wondering whether she had overlooked a clue. She muttered, "He said he was just going to the studio." "He sounded fine," Nick said, his jaw quivering as he tightened his fists. "Matt has been observing us. He was aware of Noah's location and the best time to attack, but as soon as he finished speaking, a darker realization hit him. He wanted more than just Noah. This is how he wanted me to feel. Another phone rang after that. It was the landline this time, a number that very few people even knew. Nick's pulse quickened as his eyes flew to it. "Don't," Sharon said. Nevertheless, Nick responded. "Where is he?" he insisted. Matt gave a menacing, low laugh. "Nicky guy, you really need to relax." Nick clenched his teeth, saying, "You wouldn't want your temper to cost your son his life. If you injure him, if—" Matt cut me off. "You don't understand, Nick. The goal here is not to harm him. It's about instructing you. Once you stole everything from me. My identity, my life, and my future. I'm taking what is most important to you right now." "Why, Matt?" Nick yelled. "What are you looking for?" Redemption was spoken by the person on the other end after a pause before the line was disconnected once more. Nick's knuckles were white as he trembled and gazed at the phone. "Redeeming?" His voice broke as he repeated. Fearful of the emptiness in his gaze, Sharon gripped his arm. She whispered, "He's playing with you." However, Nick had stopped paying attention. He was already elsewhere, in his own mind, experiencing every conflict and every moment he had believed Matt was permanently gone. Nick whispered, "He's alive. He's coming for us, and he's alive." Genoa City appeared to hold its breath as darkness fell. Helicopters flew overhead. Police cars drove around every street, and Nick wouldn't stop. He searched Noah's laptop, GPS data, and text messages for anything that would point him in the direction of his son. Then, as he was going through Noah's most recent texts, he came across one that chilled him to the bone. An unidentified number. Just before Noah disappeared, this message was time-stamped. "Meet me at the old pier. Come by yourself." It has to do with Sienna. Nick felt sick to his stomach. He clenched his teeth and muttered. He lured him. Sharon glanced up suddenly and said, "Matt used Sienna to bait him. Do you believe Sienna is involved?" Hesitantly, she asked. Nick paused. "I'm not sure. But she's the key." Determined to confront her, he stormed out before Sharon could stop him. Sienna was crying as she opened the door to her flat when he got there. "Nick, you have to trust me. I didn't know," she sobbed. "He threatened to kill both Noah and myself if I didn't assist." Nick's anger turned to bewilderment and fear. "What did he force you to do?" he insisted. "He made me text Noah," Sienna admitted, her voice breaking. "Instructed me to take him to the pier. Matt claimed he wanted to explain everything, but I assumed it was simply a conversation. However, Noah told me to leave when we arrived, and then he vanished. I bolted." She covered her face and sobbed, saying, "I didn't look back. I had no idea he would take him." Nick's heart tightened, caught between anger and powerlessness. "Where does he keep him?" In desperation, he asked. "Was there anything he said?" Sienna hesitated before shaking her head. "Before I departed, he mentioned something strange. Tell Nick the past always repeats itself," he added, and Nick froze. Those were taunting remarks, not just random ones. It was the same line that Matt had used years before to pretending to be dead. Nick realized. He's reliving it. He is attempting to change history, using Noah as the victim this time. Chance called with an update from back at the ranch. A portion of the call was traced. Nick didn't wait for backup because it came from the outskirts close to the shuttered steel industry, the same location where Matt Clark almost perished years ago. Ignoring Sharon's entreaties, he reached for his coat and keys. Nick snarled, "If Matt wants me, he's going to get me." His headlights cut through the fog as he drove through the rain-soaked, gloomy streets. His chest was constricted with anger and anxiety, and each mile felt heavier. There was a lot of silence as he arrived at the factory. Nick's torch beam sliced through broken glass and rusty beams. Then he heard it, a muffled sound very faintly. A voice. "Dad," he gasped. "Noah, he made a call." Though weak, the voice was genuine. "Help me, Dad." With his pulse racing, Nick sprinted in the direction of the sound. He kicked open a closed door that he had discovered. Noah was inside, shivering and battered, strapped to a chair. As he hurried to untie him, Nick muttered, "Oh my God. Don't worry, son, I've got you." Then though a slow clap reverberated through the darkness. Nick spun around and froze. Smirking, Matt emerged from the shadows. Isn't that a heartwarming reunion? His expression was contorted with delight. Nick shielded Noah, his voice trembling with rage, saying, "You should have stayed out of it, Nick. Do you want me? I am here." Matt laughed and walked around them, saying, "Let him go. You were the hero all along, didn't you? However, heroes are never victorious." "Not in my story," Nick said, lunging and throwing Matt to the ground. Years of animosity exploded in ferocious blows and yells as the two guys engaged in a savage fight. "You destroyed my life," Matt yelled. "You ruined all I owned. You did that to yourself," Nick yelled back. When Matt reached for a metal rod and swung it, Nick ducked and slammed him against a wall, ending the fight. With blood seeping from his temple, Matt collapsed. Nick snarled, "It's over." Matt chuckled feebly. "You believe that?" Nick's heart halted. "Check your phone." He picked up his phone cautiously and opened a fresh message that had just come in. A live feed came to life, showing Sienna confined in a separate place and pleading for assistance. From the footage, Matt's voice could be heard faintly asking, "Did you really think it was just one hostage?" Nick's world was skewed. The terror didn't end there. Matt had come for all of Nick's loved ones, not just Noah. "Round 2 starts now" was written beneath Sienna's horrified visage as the screen froze. The realization that Matt was still in charge caused Nick to fall to his knees, tears welling up in his eyes. The game was far from finished, but Noah was safe for the time being. Nick gritted his teeth and muttered, "I'll find you, Matt," as police sirens drew near. "And when I do, I'll put an end to this permanently." However, Matt Clark was already grinning somewhere in the darkness, his voice resonating through the darkness. "You won't see her ever again." Suddenly, Genoa City plunged into yet another nightmare, where Nick Newman had to confront the horrifying reality that the devil he believed he had vanquished had returned, and this time he wasn't going away without killing everything Nick held dear. The steel factory walls were painted red and blue by flashing police lights as the chilly November wind howled across the outskirts of Genoa City. Standing close to the dilapidated entryway, drenched in perspiration and rain, Nick Newman gazed vacantly at his phone's screen. A few minutes ago, the live stream that showed Sienna Bacall tied up and shaking was cut off in the middle of her scream. The weight of Matt's latest threat was pressing down on him like a vice, causing his breathing to come in short gasps. Nick hardly heard Chance Chancellor as he yelled commands at the officers dispersed over the property. The last words Matt said before vanishing into the night, "Round 2 starts now," were still racing through his head. Nick's heart was pierced by the haunted expression in Noah's eyes as he sat wrapped in a blanket close by, his face pallid and battered. While Sienna was still in danger, he longed to hold on to his son and never let go, but even that small consolation seemed unattainable. At last, Noah glanced up at him and muttered, "Dad." He said something before he left. Nick froze when he replied, "You'd never stop paying for what you did." "What did I do?" He said it again. Noah gave a feeble nod. "He said that you were the cause of his current state. That after you stole anything from him, he is now stealing everything from you." Nick knelt in front of his son, his jaw tightening. "Noah, you pay attention to me. You are not at fault for any of this. Since the day he entered our life, Matt has been fixated on getting even." His voice broke beneath the weight of the recollections, saying, "He blames me for things that happened decades ago. However, it was my responsibility to ensure that he kept away. He's hurting you because I let my guard down." Grim-faced, Chance walked over to them. "On the live feed we have a partial trace. It originated from an industrial area 10 miles east of here, close to Route 41. But it's a large area with dozens of abandoned buildings." Nick got to his feet right away, his eyes blazing with resolve. Chance took his arm and said, "Then that's where I'm going." "Stop, Nick. You're overly sentimental." Nick wrenched himself free. "We'll handle it." "No, you won't. I understand him better than you do. Matt wants to prolong this and cause me pain, so he won't kill her immediately away. I am aware of his pattern." As Nick rushed to his car, the rain got heavier and there was distant thunder. Just as he got to the driver's side door, Sharon raced up, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, Nick, you can't pursue him by yourself." She grabbed his arm and sobbed. You just got Noah back. Let the police take care of this. Nick turned to face her, his eyes red-rimmed and wild. Do you really think I can watch from home as Matt torments someone I love? This is on me, Sharon. He's targeting everyone who has a connection to me, starting with Noah and now Sienna. Who comes next? You. Beneath the rage, Sharon briefly glimpsed the shattered man, the scared father who had already suffered too much. She forcefully swallowed. Then allow me to accompany you, she muttered. Nick gave a headshake. No. If something were to happen to you, I'm not asking, she cut in, her voice shaky but resolute. Nick hesitated before nodding, realizing she was correct. If Matt's going to keep coming after our family, then we face him together. Just as much as she wanted to know their son was genuinely secure, he needed her strength. The city lights dimmed behind them as they drove through the storm. Chance's most recent coordinates, which pointed to a distant area of land close to the deserted goods depot, made a small ping on the GPS. Nick's stomach wrenched more forcefully the closer they approached. Like a shadow breathing down his neck, he sensed Matt's presence there. Sienna Bacall, meantime, shuddered in her chair inside an abandoned storage warehouse near the tracks, her wrists sore from the ropes that chained her. Every event that brought her to this point was replayed in her memory, including her deceit, her liaison with Noah, and her manipulation of everyone in her vicinity. And now, in the most brutal way imaginable, her past had caught up to her. Matt strode carefully in front of her, his countenance unsettlingly composed. He said, "You see, Sienna, this isn't about you. You are merely a tool. Nick should be reminded that every poor decision has consequences." Sienna's voice faltered. "He will locate me. You're dead when Nick comes for me," Matt said with a smile and a tilted head. "Oh, I hope he shows up. That's the main idea. You still don't understand, do you? This is justice, not merely retaliation. Years ago, Nick stole my life. He transformed me into a monster in everyone's eyes and ruined everything I had built. I will now force him to watch as I dismantle his family, piece by piece." His breath was cold across her skin as he drew in close. "And maybe I'll let him live long enough to remember what it feels like to lose everything when he finally breaks and begs me to end it." Sienna prayed for a miracle while closing her eyes. Once the car was back on the road, Sharon held the dashboard as it made another tight turn. "Nick, go more slowly," she begged, but Nick's knuckles on the steering wheel were white. "Sharon, he's out there playing God with our lives. I'm not going to let him win." His voice broke with years of hurt and rage. "Every time I believe we are clear of him, he reappears in the shadows. Not right now." The GPS beeped once more. Destination ahead. Through the rain, the warehouse towered, its windows broken and black, the ideal location for a maniac to hide. After turning off the engine, Nick reached under the seat and took out a small revolver that he kept hidden for emergencies. Sharon's eyes got bigger. "No, Nick. If it's between him and Sienna, I'll do what I have to," Nick snarled. "You can't just go in there shooting." With flashlights piercing the darkness, they crept in the side door. From deep inside the structure came the faint sound of a chain scraping across concrete. "Sienna?" Sharon muttered. No response. Just the distant thunder and the sound of the rain. Nick crept forward, gesturing for her to wait behind. Then a smooth, mocking voice emerged from the shadows. "Nick, welcome back. You really can't avoid me, can you?" With a twisted smirk on his face and a gun of his own, Matt entered the light. Sienna was strapped to a chair behind him, her eyes wide with fear. Nick insisted. "Let her go. You want me." Matt gave a grim laugh. "Yes, I plan to. I want you to grasp something first, though. You've spent your entire life acting like the hero, Mr. Moral Compass, the guardian of the family. But Nick, take a look around. Everyone you come into contact with crumbles. Your unions. Your children. Even Sienna is here, just another victim of your mayhem." Nick stepped closer and spat. "Shut up. You're a coward who hides behind other people's suffering, Matt. You're not some vengeful angel." For the first time, Matt's eyes flashed with anger as his smile wavered. "Do you believe that I am unaware of pain? Do you really think I can't recall what it was like to have your name erased, your face burned, and your entire life ruined because of you?" He pointed the weapon at Nick's chest. "This is how you made me." Nick remained unflinching. "No. This is how you made yourself." You had the option to start fresh, but you opted for hatred instead. You made this decision. Between them, the tension flared like lightning. Hiding behind a support beam, Sharon crept closer to Sienna and used a pocket knife she had taken from the car to slowly cut the ropes. Sienna silently begged for assistance as her eyes flew in her direction. When Nick saw the movement, he quietly moved to divert Matt's attention. Nick said, "Tell me something. Why keep me alive if you despise me so much? Why not just murder me and call it a day?" Matt grinned. "Because dying is too simple. I want you to experience it. To see everything that is important to you erased. I might think about showing you pity when you eventually beg for it to stop." The final rope was cut by Sharon. She told Sienna in a whisper, "Run." However, Matt heard a slight scrape of rope striking the floor before Sienna could move. He made a quick turn. "Well done," he growled and fired a shot that barely touched Sienna's arm. She fell against the chair, screaming. The revolver clattered on the floor as Nick pounced and tackled Matt. The two men engaged in vicious combat, crashing into walls and shattered equipment. Every blow contained years of animosity. Each yell reverberated like thunder throughout the structure. Sharon crawled up to Sienna and covered the wound with her jacket. Even though tears were streaming down her face, she said, "You're okay. You'll be all right." Nick and Matt, meanwhile, fell to the lower level after smashing through a metal guardrail. Even though Matt landed hard, he was still able to cut Nick's arm with a piece of shattered glass. "I can't be stopped by you," he cried out. Driven by rage and adrenaline, Nick retaliated, pinning him to the ground. "You're finished, Matt. It's finished."